What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today it's time to cover how to rank up fast and prestige fast in Black Ops 6. In this, the first part, we're going to be covering a bunch of different factors that can contribute to your XP gains, and then for the second part of the video, it's all going to be about gameplay specific tips, what you should actually be doing in-game in order to maximize the amount of XP you're getting. And with these tips, I found you can earn significantly more XP than just playing normally. So let's start off with the big obvious thing. Double XP tokens. If you got them, of course, you can use those to double the amount of match XP that you get. At the moment, early on in the game's life cycle, to my knowledge, the only way to get these is through like monster promotions or Little Caesars promotions. But down the road, as time goes on, typically you'll get double XP tokens for like the Battle Pass, for instance. Now, one thing I'm sure many of you guys are wondering about is the double XP token trick that has worked in previous years, and I did do some testing on this. With this, in the past, you could go to the previous Call of Duty game, activate your double XP tokens there if you had a bunch saved up, and then just boot up into the new Call of Duty game. And while that double XP token wouldn't necessarily show up as working, it would actually work in the background and it would double your XP gains. I did do the testing with this in Black Ops 6 from Modern Warfare 3, and at the moment, this doesn't work. In saying that, once the Warzone integration happens with the launch of Season 1, perhaps things may change there because at that point we're going to be sharing progression. So I will be revisiting this testing once the Season 1 update drops, but as of right now, that trick doesn't appear to be working at all. So that's the obvious one, double XP. Now let's get into the various methods of earning additional XP on top of just playing the game. And the first thing to talk about here is badges. In Black Ops 6, essentially every class item, so every gun, every piece of equipment, every field upgrade, every score streak as well, they have badges available for them, and you earn these badges essentially just by using that item. So for guns, for instance, you just need to get eliminations. For something like a trophy system, you have to stop a certain number of projectiles with that trophy system. And each of these has their 3 basic tiers, and you're awarded XP for reaching those tiers. So first, with the bronze badge, this one will award 1000 XP, and for guns, you just have to get 100 kills with that gun, and you'll get the bronze badge. Then for the silver badge, you need to get 150 kills, and that one will award 2500 XP. And then for the gold badge for guns, you need to get 250 kills with that gun, and then you will get 5000 XP, which is quite a bit of XP for just using something in the game. And again, those are just examples with guns. This also applies to your score streaks, your equipment, your field upgrades. You will be awarded all this bonus XP for just using a variety of items. And that's really key. Make sure you're using variety and mixing things up. If you just stick to the same gun and the same lethals, the same tacticals all the time, you're going to get to that gold badge very quickly, and then you're leaving a bunch of potential XP on the table as you continue to use those, because you could be using other things and earning more XP for those as you earn the badges for those ones. Now, after that, for additional XP, we have calling card challenges, and these are pretty straightforward, not new to Call of Duty by any means, but if you go to your challenge screen, you can scroll through your calling card challenges, and you can see exactly how much they award. Some of them, not too much. Other ones award quite a bit of XP, especially if you complete an entire section of those calling card challenges, so definitely something to focus on. On top of that, we have our daily challenges, usually pretty easy to complete, so definitely make sure you're keeping an eye out on those and finishing those every single day since you get bonus XP for completing all 3. We also have reticle challenges in Black Ops 6, so as you're using a particular optic, you're unlocking reticles for it, and every time you advance to the next reticle, you'll also get XP for doing this. And while it's not a ton of XP, it does add up, and therefore you may want to try using a bit of a variety of optics as well, as long as it's not holding your gameplay back too significantly, because then at that point, it's probably not worth the little bit of bonus XP that you gain from completing these reticle challenges. Then after that, of course, we've got our camo challenges. And these are another excellent source of bonus XP while playing the game, especially when we're talking about headshots, because there is a stacking effect with the next thing I want to talk about, which is medals. And with this, if you want to access your medals collection, you go to the barracks and then stats, and you can see that medal collection. And for each of these medals, it actually displays exactly how much XP you're getting for each one of these. And while many of them, it's not really worth changing up your gameplay to actively go for these medals, because we're often talking like 25 to maybe 100 XP for these. One of the big ones to point out is headshots, because you're getting 25 bonus XP for every headshot you get. Plus, those headshots contribute to those initial headshot camo challenges, and earning those camos awards XP, so there's a stacking effect there. And then there's more stacking effects, which we'll talk about when we get into the gameplay-specific tips, which, let's just do that. And since we were just talking about headshots, that is my first gameplay-related tip here. Whenever viable, you should try to be aiming for the head and getting those headshots, because this has that stacking effect. You earn your headshot military camos for your gun, and every time you earn a camo, you're getting more XP, and as you earn your mastery camos as well, there's going to be a lot more XP stacking on top of that. So long term, you're going to be seeing the results of that as well. On top of that, like I said, headshot medals will yield bonus XP, so for every kill you're getting a bonus 25 XP just by getting a headshot with that kill. And after the beta, at least, for many of the guns, you are getting bonus damage to the head, so it actually may make it a bit easier to get your kills too. Not for all of the guns, most of the SMGs are still pretty terrible when it comes to that headshot damage multiplier, but you still need to do it for camos on those guns, so you should still be going for it, at least to get your initial camos unlocked. Next up for gameplay related tips, I highly recommend using low-end support streaks. Ideally, the UAV and counter UAV. Now that third streak, you can use whatever you want for it, but UAV and counter UAV are key, especially if you combine this with the strategist specialty, which is using 3 of the green perks. And one of those green perks should be Dispatcher as well, because it reduces the cost for the UAVs and counter UAVs. And then Strategist makes it so you're earning more score by playing the objective. And that adds up really quickly, so you can get these UAVs and counter UAVs very consistently. And every time you call them in, when teammates get kills while your UAV or counter UAV are up, you're getting bonus XP for your teammates getting kills, which is excellent. Now on top of that, we once again have a stacking effect here with medals when using these score streaks. When you have your UAV in the air and you kill 2 or more enemies rapidly, so a double kill or better, you get a Hunter medal, which awards an additional 50 XP. Then with the counter UAV, if you call that in while there's an enemy UAV in the air, you get an additional 50 XP just for calling that in as well. Again, on top of the bonus XP you're getting every time a teammate gets a kill while it's up. So with all of that combined, that XP actually adds up quite quickly if you're able to consistently get UAVs and counter UAVs, which you should be able to do if you're using Dispatcher and Strategist. So if you're playing Black Ops 6 right now and not using UAVs and counter UAVs, you're leaving a whole lot of XP on the table. Also, just a quick note, shooting down counter UAVs, while they do move, unlike the past couple Call of Duty games, they're really easy to shoot down, even with an SMG. So definitely, if the enemy has a counter UAV in the air, just like the previous couple years of COD, just look up to the sky, try to find it in the air, and shoot it down with whatever gun you happen to have in your hands. It's really easy to do, and you get XP for doing that. After that, I've got an excellent tip for a ton of free XP throughout a match, or pretty much free XP. It's really easy XP. And this is something that has worked in the past with Call of Duty. This is use the decoys in your tactical slot and just spam them out in the general direction of where the enemy is going to be. And especially if you combine this with the Tactical Expert wildcard, you get 3 decoys every single time you spawn. So every time you spawn in, spam those 3 decoys out, try to spread them out a little bit, but throw them in the general direction of your enemies. When you do this, every single time a teammate kills an enemy within a fairly large radius of these, you will get 25 XP. And keep in mind, score and XP don't always line up. So the score you see pop up in the middle of your screen, it says 15 for that. That's how much score you get toward your streak. But I did the testing on this. You get 25 XP toward your player progression. And that really adds up, especially on the face-off maps. In fact, I had this one game here where I was mainly just wanting to test out the effectiveness of doing this. I was also getting a few kills trying to get some daily challenges done, but mainly focusing on spamming decoys. And I was able to count 47 of these assists in this very short game. And that adds up to about 1,200 bonus XP for simply throwing decoy grenades every time I spawned in. Now, obviously, you're going to get a lot more of these in face-off compared to regular modes, but this trick still works in regular modes as well. So if you're really trying to squeeze out as much XP as possible, I'd recommend trying the decoy spamming trick. Next up, there's a couple field upgrades I'd recommend using as well if you're trying to maximize your XP gains. Again, variety is important if you are trying to get those badges, so I'm not saying just only use these, but they tend to be quite good. The first one is munitions. With this, not only does it help you with that decoy spamming trick we just talked about, since when you throw it down, you get more decoys, you can throw more out. But also, when you throw these down, I'd recommend throwing them down a little bit ahead of where you spawn. So when you spawn in after dying, take a few steps forward and then throw it down, and then it's more likely that your teammates will pick it up. And every time a teammate does pick up your munitions box, you get XP for that as well. Another really solid field upgrade for fairly consistent XP, depending on the modes you're playing, but if you play Hardpoint especially, this is the trophy system. Every time that trophy destroys an incoming piece of equipment, you get XP for that. And they charge up pretty quickly as well. And those are some of the more specific tips I've got. Now some general gameplay related tips. Let's talk about game modes a little bit. In general, I definitely recommend playing some form of an objective game mode. There's just more XP to be earned as you're playing the objective. There's also more medals you could potentially earn because there are medals tied to attacking or defending an objective, for instance. On top of that, if you're using Strategist in order to get more UAVs and counter UAVs, there's way more score potential to earn those on a more consistent basis. And in my experience so far with my testing, for the core playlist, the non-face-off playlist, I have found both Domination and Hardpoint tend to be the best modes for XP gains overall. And as much as I like Domination personally, I was actually earning more XP on average in Hardpoint. So Hardpoint is probably the best mode out there if you're playing 6v6 for maximum XP gains. A quick mention about Kill Confirmed. Kill Confirmed is amazing for getting streaks really effectively, and I plan on having a video talking about this in a little bit. But what I found with Kill Confirmed is it's honestly not that big of a standout when it comes to your total match XP for some reason. So tons of score to go around, but not as much XP as you might think. And then of course, let's talk about Face Off a little bit, which is 6v6 on the 2v2 maps. With these matches, there's obviously a lot of potential for a lot of kills in a short period of time because everything's so crammed together, and you can get very solid XP games for very short matches. One problem I have with Face Off though is since the matches are so short, they often only last for like 3 or 4 minutes. This means if you're playing that over the course of an hour, for instance, you're going to be spending a good portion of your time in between games, waiting to get into another lobby, waiting for everything to load up, and therefore that's less time in match actually earning XP compared to something like Hardpoint or Domination, where you're going to be in those matches for a longer period of time, and therefore your total time in game is actually going to be higher playing Domination or Hardpoint than it would be with Face Off. And then also, there's just a preference-based thing. For a lot of people, they don't really want to play Face Off. It's just a little too chaotic and mindless for them, and they'd like to play modes that require a little bit more thought and a little more strategy overall. So if you're that type, like myself, Dom and Hardpoint seem to be the best modes to go for that. And then one final general tip that I've got for you guys is just get in the action as much as possible without just feeding the enemy team streaks, of course. Like, you're not going to maximize your XP gains if you're just running straight down the middle of the map directly into the enemy sites over and over again. That's going to be very detrimental to your gameplay, so you still want to think, but try to be aggressive. Get in the action, get in the fight, because the more you do that, the more XP gains you're going to be seeing. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's video on the best tips that I've got for you guys to maximize your XP gains while playing Black Ops 6 multiplayer. If you combine all of these tips that I provided and focus on the various areas where you can gain this extra XP, this will accelerate your leveling process quite a bit over just logging in, playing the game normally, and not really thinking about anything beyond that. It's actually surprising how much extra XP many of these methods provide. But with that, this is where I'm curious to hear from you guys in those comments down below. First off, were you guys already aware of many of the tips that I shared in this video? And second, are there any other tips that I potentially missed? I mean, I do a lot of testing, but it's always possible that I miss some sort of method or I underestimate some item when it comes to XP. If you have something else that you wanted to add to this video that you found awards a lot of XP, please let me and the audience know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.